5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Diary of a Kidney Warrior podcast in partnership with Kidney Care UK, sharing faith, knowledge, hope, and love.
Hi, and welcome to Diary of a Kidney Warrior podcast. My name is Dee Moore, and I am a kidney warrior. This podcast is dedicated to encourage, educate, and inspire as we explore all aspects of kidney disease, related chronic illnesses, and health. If you have any questions or ideas for topics you would like me to cover, please get in contact with me on social media using the handle Diary of a Kidney Warrior. In today's episode, I am bringing you a kidney warrior story. Now, there's always something you can learn from someone's story, something that can bring inspiration and hope. My guest today from Liverpool, England, is Katie Newell. Katie joins me to share about her diagnosis of a rare kidney condition called Loin Pain Haematuria Syndrome. Katie is passionate about helping people with LPHS and raising awareness of LPHS and its impact on mental health. Hi, and welcome to Diary of a Kidney Warrior podcast. How are you doing today, Katie?
I'm good, Dee. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really looking forward to our interview today. Now, today is extra special for me because there's two things that I really, there's so many things I enjoy recording in the podcast, but as everyone knows, I really enjoy recording Kidney Warrior Story interviews because, as I've said many times before, you learn so much from someone's lived experience with CKD. But also there's a double reason for me to be excited, and that is because we're going to be talking about rare kidney diseases today, and it's not often something that we talk about here on the podcast. So I'm doubly excited to hear about new things and learn about new things. So yeah, I'm really, really excited.
Oh, I'm glad I can be here to raise a little bit of awareness for, the rare condition that I suffer with my kidneys. And yeah, I'm really glad that I could speak to you today about it and educate some more people maybe, and see if there's anybody else out there who has this condition who may think they're alone, because it is quite rare. So yeah, I'm really glad to be here. So thank you for giving me the opportunity today. It means a lot. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So I'm going to ask my first question. And my first question is, how did your kidney warrior journey begin and how were you diagnosed?
My journey began when I was 12, 13. I started getting a lot of urinary tract infections. It was persistent, and my mum took me to the GP. I was given antibiotics, and then it settled down, and then it would come back again. And eventually my mum took me to see a different GP because my mum was a nurse, and she was quite concerned that this wasn't normal, even though it would clear and come back. So I was sent then to see a urologist who said I had an obstruction in my kidneys, and he fixed that. Then later on, I started getting the water infections again. And then I was diagnosed as having kidney stones, uric acid ones. And it turned out that when they were doing x-rays on me and CT scans, it doesn't show because these stones are radiolucent. So they only show on either an ultrasound scan or a renogram scan. So it was eventually picked up that I had that. So they removed those stones, and then they diagnosed me with having CKD because obviously the water infections and, the problems I was having. And then they diagnosed me with renal stone disease because I make these stones persistently, and I'm on medication to prevent me making them or to slow it down, but it never has. It's just I'm making past them all the time. And now it's led to a condition that we can hear about mainly called Loin Pain Haematuria Syndrome, which is chronic pain in the kidney. It can be both sides, but for myself, just my left. And it's like the pain you would have when you're passing a kidney stone or you've got a really severe infection. That's what I've got now because of previous amounts of stones, surgeries, cameras, stents, all those things has now led to Loin Pain Haematuria Syndrome.
Wow, that you really have experienced so much. So rewinding back slightly. So as a teenager, you were having these consistent UTIs, and then finally they realized that you had these kidney stones and diagnosed you with renal stone disease. Now, I personally have never heard of renal stone disease. So is that literally, as the name suggests, that your body just makes kidney stones?
Yes. Yeah, it literally is what it says on the tin, Dee. It's literally, I make these stones persistently. I've seen dietitians over the years, so I've altered my diet. There's certain things that I can eat, things that I can't eat, things I can't drink, things. I drink a lot of water. I live by drinking at least 3 litres of water a day. I'm on an awful lot of medication to try and stop me making these stones. It's not stop me making them, but it stopped the persistence of them. So even though I'm still making them, it's not as many as I would make if I wasn't on them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the moment, I'm on a lot of sodium bicarb, potassium citrate. I'm on a medication for the uric acid. And I still, for some reason, seem to make these stones. I must be organic because I keep making them all the time.
So these kidney stones led to a secondary condition, Loin Pain Haematuria Syndrome, or LPHS for short. So you mentioned that you're in a lot of pain due to this condition. So let's talk a bit more about that. So what do you experience as part of having this condition?
Quite a bit. When the pain is very severe, it can come on. You can just be sat there watching TV and the pain will just come on. You don't have to be exerting yourself or anything. And as quick as it comes on, sometimes it can go. Sometimes it's there for hours. Sometimes it's there for days. It's very unpredictable. And it's very hard to manage with it being unpredictable. Like, on an average day now, I will suffer with pain on an average every day. Some days are a lot worse than others. Like today, before we started the podcast, I was saying, I'm a little bit sore today, but it's manageable at the moment. I'm all good. But I think the main symptom that I get is this excruciating pain. And it's like, if I said it was the kidney, I'd be telling fibs. I think it's not. It's like that space you have between your kidney to your bladder, like that loin area. That constant. The only way I can describe it, I'm a pain doctor last when I say this. It feels like a Mexican wave going on my side, on my left side. But it's like, and he says to me that's because it's colic, like a colicky pain. And I do all kinds. I've got patches that I put on, all different medications, and blood is another big symptom as well. It's normally when you have an attack, I will get blood and it's very visible. It's not just, it's a little bit, it's very visible. It's very clear what it is. And you can't find a cause for it. You don't know why the attacks come on. You don't know whether it's because the kidney is oversensitized because of everything it's been through. Because weirdly enough, with everything that I've been through, it's always been my left-hand side. The right side's never been a bit of bother. It's always been the left.
That must be really challenging, not knowing when it's going to happen or what. So there's no indication at times at all. So it's not like you get a symptom and then the pain's going to come. It just literally comes out of nowhere.
Literally, that's exactly it. Like, we've got a holiday home in Wales and I can be sat there watching the TV with my mum and the next thing, it'll just come on. And the pain is that intense. Sometimes I'll be vomiting. Sometimes I'll be crying because the pain is that bad. You feel like you want to be sat down, curled up, but then at the same time, you want to be pacing the floor up and down because no matter what you do, you cannot get comfortable. My dad's bought me a special bed so that overnight when I sleep, I'm a lot more comfortable. And when you have this attack, it's like nothing else in the world matters because you are literally, the pain is that intense and then you're being sick. So then you're retching, which then makes you hurt even more, which it's like a vicious circle. But yeah, it can come on anytime. You have no indication. And then as quick as it's come on, it can go as well. It's quite something. It's quite bizarre. It's the best way I would describe it. Like, you can't plan anything. Like, I have a lot of friends who ask me, do you want to come? Well, I will do if I don't have an attack, or like you've said, I can't plan it. It just happens.
So how long have you been living with LPHS?
I was officially diagnosed with LPHS just about October time, so October gone. My nephrologist had thought I had this condition. He'd read about it and he'd heard about it, and he thought I'd had it. But it's not a process of what symptoms you do have to get diagnosed. It's what you don't have, weirdly. So I had to have a numerous tests done, 24-hour urine collections, bloods, x-rays, scans, all these things. And if everything come back negative, then he was 90% certain I had this condition, which I do. I come back and he said I had to get tested for TB in my kidneys. I never even knew you could get TB in your kidneys, but I had to be tested for that. I had all my blood work done. And he said to me, I'm pretty certain, Katie, that you've got Loin Pain Haematuria Syndrome. He said to me it was probably one of the most painful kidney conditions you can have because of its intensity with the pain.
So how has living with these conditions affected your life?
It's small ways, in the sense of I don't go out by myself. I'm always with someone if I go shopping. You know, whether that's my mum, my eldest niece Ellie, or, someone will go with me, because when I don't know when an attack's going to come, I kind of get panicky as well. So even if they're just there to link onto if the pain's not great that day, or simple things like help me pack a shopping bag, because people don't realise that even trying to get things off a shelf when you're in pain is hard. And, even every day, having to take so much medication every day and having to remember to do it as well is another big thing. And making sure your fluid intake's enough, and, am I passing enough urine, and what's the blood like today? Even driving, I struggle driving now a manual car because of pain. I have to drive an automatic now, which I never used to do that. we had to get an automatic, because when my pain was so bad on the left side that if I put the clutch in on the car, it would be so painful. So it's just simple little things, but them little things all add up to a big thing. And it's hard because I'm only 36. I should be independent. I shouldn't have to rely on someone to be there and help me. But sometimes you need that help. And I think accepting that you need it hard as well. I think, so I would say the simple things in life is what I struggle with the most.
So touching on what you just said about accepting that you need help, what advice do you have to somebody going through a similar situation where they may need to ask for help or need help at different periods of time, but are fiercely independent and don't like to ask for help? What advice would you have for someone like that?
I would say if you need help, then those around you who love you and care for you, they won't see it as a burden. That was my concern when I would ask for help, or I would say to my mum, would you come with me here? Or saying to my niece, can you come? I get that you need your independence and it's hard to ask, but it's harder to struggle than it is to ask. And I would say to anybody, no one's going to think you're a burden if they love you and they care about you. They're going to want to help you. They're not going to want to see you struggle even more than we do daily anyway. So yeah, just ask for help. It's there, and if anybody's ever struggling, or, you can always find me on Twitter or whatever and ask me, my mum's like this, or my friend's like this, how do I ask? I just come out with it in the end and says, I can't do it alone sometimes. I need help. And it's just, you've got to be honest and you've just got to say it. Otherwise, you're going to struggle. And it's struggling and worrying is only going to make the condition worse.
I love that. It's harder to struggle than it is to ask for help. I think that's a really powerful word right there.
Mm.
I'm going to say it one more time. It's harder to struggle than it is to ask for help. So yes, don't be afraid to ask for help. There's so many people that suffer and struggle alone. But yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help.
No, and the hardest bit is asking for the help, Dee. That's the hardest part, because I used to feel like a bit embarrassed asking for help. And now it's just like water off a duck's back. If I need help, I'll say, because my mum or whoever I ask would rather help me than see me walking around sore and trying to reach for things and trying to drive when I'm like that. So yeah, always ask, just bite the bullet and just ask. It's worse to struggle and to say to people at the last minute, oh, could you help me? I always say to them, mate, I'm not feeling very good today. I'm a bit sore. Could you drive me to the shop? Could you come in the shop with me? And once you've done it once, you'll be okay. It's the initial asking, but you'll be okay.
So we've discussed about the impact of LPHS on your body physically. How has this affected your mental health and emotionally?
Massively, Dee. Like, I was so down because I suppose I felt like my independence had been taken away from me at such a young age as well. Going back to when I was 13, 14, I was in an adult hospital because what they said is normally I would have went to Alder Hay, but I was actually sent to an adult hospital in Liverpool because they said by the time I would have transitioned and got the appointment on the NHS and then transitioned over into adult services, they may as well, because I was more or less 16 and I could be sent over to Aintree, and I seen a wonderful urologist there. And I missed a lot of school. I know kids hate school. When you're at the time, you hate school, you don't want to go. But when you can't go, you kind of miss it. I missed out on simple things, going on school trips, going for days out with my friends, summer holidays with my friends. I missed a lot of that because they didn't know what was wrong with me at the time. So I was in an inpatient a lot, and then it just progressed on, and I got to about 25, and I had a massive breakdown. I really struggled. I'd been the GP on and off saying, suffering, I'm upset, I'm depressed and whatnot. And they gave me medication, and there was never really any follow-up. There was never really any, just gave me drugs and sent me on my way, And eventually, when it got to about 25, 26, I lost my late grandfather and I had a massive breakdown, and I went to the GP and I said, I can't do this anymore because I'm struggling every day, being in pain as well. Nobody knows, because we didn't know then, what LPHS was. I said, I'm struggling with pain. I'm struggling to live like an average 20-something-year-old. And kind of, I felt sorry for my dad as well, because my dad was always my mum every night. She never left the hospital. Every day she would come to the hospital. And, my brother as well, I kind of felt like, in a way, I took his mum a little bit away from him as well, because my mum was always concerned of making sure I'm okay because I'm in a hospital and I'm on my own and she can't stay like you can in Alder Hay. And, I felt it's massively impacted. But now I can see that it's made me stronger in a weird way. I've come out the other side. And like now I don't suffer with the depression as much because, okay, it's not nice, the condition, and it's painful, but I'm still here. I'm still living. I'm still breathing. I wake up every morning and I can still see my nieces and nephew. Got my 2 little dogs. It's hard, and it did affect me. And I think in a way it always will affect me mentally. But you've just got to realise that maybe God gives us these because he thinks we're strong enough. Maybe God gives us these trials because he thinks you've got the strength to get through it. And so that's the way I look at it, is I wouldn't have these struggles if people didn't think I could cope with it.
That was a really powerful account of what you've been through. And in terms of what you've been through, for someone who's listening now, who's really struggling with their mental health, really struggling, coming to terms with their condition, what advice do you have for them?
Be out. Don't ever hold anything like that in. For me, that was the worst thing I could have done. because I didn't speak out about how I was feeling. My mum, who was a nurse, I wouldn't speak out to her, and she was the closest person to me. And when you ask for help mentally, you will feel like the weight off your shoulders, because one of my consultants actually said to me, I think it was my nephrologist, when I said I've been suffering with me depression and anxiety, he said to me, if you haven't got a healthy mind, you won't have a healthy body. And it just resonated with me. I just thought, I wonder if I am making myself, because naturally when you worry, your body goes tense and you tighten up your muscles. And so if I'm doing that, am I then making my condition worse? Because I'm making these muscles contract even more than they would if I was just not relaxed, but a little bit more calm and a little bit more breathing, rather than getting panicky and then having that feeling. And it is hard. And I would say to anybody, it will be the hardest thing you ever do, but it'll be the best thing you ever do as well. Because the minute you start speaking about how you're feeling, you will feel a little bit better. And even if it's just a little bit better, it's better than feeling no better. So to me, as soon as I spoke out and said, right, okay, I can't change what's happened to me. I can't change the condition. So can't change it. So let's embrace it. So let's start doing, instead of thinking, right, I've now got a disability, now think of, I've got an ability to do things in a way that works for me. So I've actually got an ability that you haven't got, because I've had to adapt this just for me. That's the way I look at it. Honestly, the minute you speak out and you tell someone, you will feel a lot better. You really will.
Some amazing gems there. There's so many things you said there that was just so powerful. I love that if you haven't got a healthy mind, you won't have a healthy body. And when you said feeling a little bit better is better than not feeling better at all, I think it's simple things like that that make a world of difference. Sometimes we want 100, but we don't realize that even 5 is still progression.
Well, do you know what? My pain consultant, who I mentioned there, he's wonderful. And he said to me, he's so lovely, Dave. Like, if you met him, he's got such a calm manner about him. And when you go to clinic and you see him, he'll hold your hand and will really listen. He's wonderful. And he said to me one day, because I've had lots of blocks and things done to try and combat the pain with this LPHS. And he was very upfront with me, and he said to me, Katie, I'm never going to be able to get you pain-free. He said, so we need to accept that you're never going to be pain-free. You're going to have a little bit of pain, but if I can help, then I'm going to do everything in my power to help. And when I came to that realization that, okay, I'm not going to be, say, what other people my age will be doing who don't have this condition, where it's walking for miles, going shopping sometimes independently, driving a normal manual car. Once I came to that realization, I kind of thought, right, okay, I might not be able to do them things. So let's do things that I can do, which is raise awareness for this condition. And that's why, obviously, when I see and I was listening to your podcast, I was like, I've got to get in touch with this lady. I've got to speak to her. And it was only one of my best friends. He said to me, Katie, get it out there. I'll help you with TikTok. I'll help you with anything. Get it out there, because you can't be the only person who's feeling this way. And so I've got Dr. Jones to thank for that, because he kind of made me say that, okay, can't do that. I'm going to help you, but I'll help you to do something else instead. So I've kind of twisted it on its head now. So that's why I kind of feel like, right, I've got to get in touch with you. I've got to get on this podcast. I've got to speak to her. I've got to tell her about this condition, because I suppose lack of education is ignorance as well. But then is it both? I don't know. So I thought, right, if I can get it out there, if I can educate people, if people can become part of, I don't know, a movement or something for people with invisible disabilities or ones that aren't that well known. Let's get a movement going. Let's get everybody talking. So, yeah, I'm probably going way off here, but yeah, but I just, yeah, it's one of them. Once you know you can't do something, flip it on its head, turn it round, do it a different way, and then turn around and go, I did that. That was me. I done that. I got told I couldn't do this, but I've done that instead, which is platinum over your goals. That's the way I look at it.
I absolutely love that. I really, really do. Because the whole glass half full, half empty type mentality, it really does make a difference. For me, your mentality towards the situation makes 100% of the difference, meaning your situation can be exactly the same, but the way you cope with it changes according to how you see it. And it goes back to the whole glass half empty, glass half full type situation. And it might sound very simplistic, but it is very, very powerful. The way that you see things can make 100% difference to how you cope with it.
Yeah. I could have sat there for years, Dave, and just thought of myself as a bit of a victim. Like, why me? Why have I got this condition? Well, why? And you know what? Again, my friend said to me, now instead of thinking, why me? Think of why not me? Why shouldn't it be you? And when he said that to me, I was like, oh my God, like that was like a proper big realization. I was like, oh my God, yeah. He was like, why shouldn't it be you? Maybe you've got this condition to get the awareness out there. Maybe if there is a God above, you thought you were strong enough to deal with it, you know. But I don't believe in the victim attitude, he said, because you're only going to make yourself more depressed. And I believe if you make yourself more depressed, you only attract negative things. So look at everything in a positive way. And then hopefully things might not be great, but they'll be better than if you were sitting there in a corner crying. You're not going to change it. So embrace it. And that's what I try to do as best as I can. And yeah, it's one of them. I do believe that if you make everything negative, you do attract negativity. And so if you just think, right, okay, I'm going to put my big girl knickers on and I'm going to think, right, I've got this problem. I'm going to help others. I'm going to speak out. Like, the amount of people who have come to me since I've been putting out there about this condition today is unbelievable. Like, since I spoke to yourself, I've had another person come and message me and say, I think I've got this condition. And their consultant is now getting in touch with my consultant. So in a way, I'm glad that I've spoke out now, because if it helps just one person, my role is done. I'm happy with that. I just want to help. Yeah. So again, thank you for bringing me on, because it's going to raise more awareness, which is what I'm all about.
So what is the most important thing that you want people to know about LPHS?
When you mean people, do you know who I want to educate the most? Is doctors. And the reason I say that is because it's not a widely known condition. I've had people from Holland, South Africa, America come and message me. And we're quite lucky in the UK, you know, we've got the NHS and they do a wonderful job. And we also give our lives to them. They are amazing. And I'm lucky that I'm an NHS patient, because some of these people I'm speaking to in America, in Holland, all have to pay for their treatment. And these poor doctors are getting bombarded with questions about the condition they don't know. And there's so many doctors that even in the UK, like one of my GPs didn't have a clue what LPHS was. I had to educate him on what my condition was. And he was dumbfounded. He was like, I've never heard of it. I was like, well, how can you help me if you've not heard of it? So that's why I'm trying to get the word out there, because it is a rare condition and it's excruciating when the pain is bad. It's the worst pain I think you can suffer. Like, I've broke my ankle before, so it's not half as bad as that. I'd rather walk around with a broken ankle sometimes than this pain. It's that bad. So when I educate people, but mainly people in the profession, nurses, doctors, paramedics, when my mum's had to ring an ambulance for me because the pain's that bad, I want to educate all these people as well, because it's not just the public who need to know, it's the ones caring for us that need to know what this condition is and how to best manage it.
So what do they need to look out for?
Someone who is maybe, I don't know, presenting to A&E, for example, who might have blood in the urine, but they don't have the signs of an infection when the urine's there. When you've got raised CRP markers in the blood, but there's no kidney stones present, that's not saying they're not there, because obviously they could be uric acid, I don't know. But somebody who is presenting with a condition that is saying, right, I'm vomiting, the pain's that bad, I'm rolling around, I've had to be given morphine, gas and air to try and combat the pain, and someone who's saying, I don't know what this pain is. they need to realise that not everything is going to be a water infection. It's going to be a kidney stone. It's going to be this. You need to look outside the box a little bit and think, right, okay. And especially if it's someone who's presented to A&E a few times with a condition very similar. I was one of them people. Sometimes I was going to A&E twice a month, 3 times a month, because the pain was that bad and nobody knew what was wrong with me at that point. So someone who's presenting and saying, I've got blood in my urine, and they've got, I would say, urine-related infection in there, and someone who's saying this pain radiates as well. It's not in one specific area, it radiates for me. And a lot of people who I've spoken to who have the condition, they said the same. It's like a Mexican wave is the way I describe it, kind of coming from the top to the bottom. So yeah, I would say that mainly.
So you touched on earlier about invisible disabilities, and CKD definitely comes under that umbrella. So let's talk a bit more about that. So for yourself, what does it mean to have an invisible disability?
For me, I've had issues in the past where obviously I've got a blue badge so I can park, my mum can park, whatever. And I've actually, before today, been going to do my weekly shop with my niece, and I've put my badge up and got out the car. And because you can't see what's wrong with me, I've had a grown man shout out the window, "You shouldn't be parking there. You're only young." And one day I just let it go, and I thought, right, I'm with my niece, just let it go. So I just ignored him. And then another time it happened, and I said to this person, well, if you want to take my bay, do you want to take my disability with you? Because I can guarantee you couldn't put up with 1 hour of what I go through every day. I said, your ignorance, I said, isn't needed in this world. I said, there's enough negativity. And that is why I'm so passionate as well, Dee, of getting the word out about invisible disabilities. Just because I don't have a stick, or I don't have something like, I don't have a scooter, a lot. And it can't be not just us with TKD, but the people with diabetes and other conditions. And especially, I think the problem is when you present quite young as well, people just assume that you're healthy because you're young. There's going to be nothing wrong with you. You're young. You've got a nice young face. When really, in reality, it's the complete opposite. Like every day, I've got to take at least morphine every day. Okay, I don't take that when I'm driving, but if I get home and my pain's bad from walking around the supermarket, then I've got to go home and take my pain relief. Even things like my mum, when she takes me to the hospital, she has to park close, because if I'm having a particularly bad day, I can't walk very far. I have to start and stop, start and stop. But yet, looking at me, you wouldn't think that. Now, it's bizarre. And I think people need to be a little bit more mindful of what they're saying to people and how it can affect people. Because I shouldn't have to say to someone, well, I've got this wrong with me, for it to be justified as to why I'm parking, where I'm parking. People should just say, well, you know what, maybe there's an issue there that you can't see. And it just, if you thought of that, then I think a lot more people would be grateful that other people are thinking of other people. Like, it's nice to be nice. Just think maybe there's a reason for it. Don't just think it's someone young being lazy, because it's far from that. I'm not. I'm not. And on my good days, if I don't need to park in a disabled bay, or if I don't need to park close, I won't. I'll stretch my legs and I'll have that little bit of a walk. But just be mindful. And that's what I'm concerned about for young people who have got invisible disabilities, that people are being quick to judge and say they haven't got something wrong with them, when actually they have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been on the receiving end of it myself.
Oh.
And it isn't easy at all.
No.
But like you said, if you have what people would associate with disability, you're a wheelchair user, or you have a cane, or some kind of indication from their point of view that you have a disability, then they find that acceptable. But aside from that, you do get shouted at, and you do get looks and assumptions, and it is challenging, and we really do need to continue to raise awareness, because the reality is some days you're exhausted and you don't have the energy, and you are struggling physically, and you really don't need to be accosted and criticised and shouted at and all the things that people do. So yes, Invisible
Honestly,
disabilities exist, and we definitely need to continue to raise awareness of it.
I've even had this day going to a disabled toilet. Honestly, I'm not kidding. I've had it going using a disabled toilet in the theatre in Liverpool, and that's the God's honest truth.
Wow.
Because I've got, honestly, I'm not kidding. I've got one of them near the radar keys. I've got one of those that I get sent every year with my catheters and stuff. And I got asked why I was using it. And I felt like saying, well, do you ask everybody why they go in the toilet? Like, why have you pinpointed me?
Wow.
Honestly, and I just thought, I was very calm, and I just took a moment, and I thought, right, breathe, Katie, take an in breath and out, and I done that, and then I just said, because I can't pee properly, is that okay?
You did ask.
And then I just showed them a catheter out my bag, and they were like, oh, okay, sorry. I was like, I would never say to anybody, why are you going to the toilet? Like, if I see you there, I go, what are you going to the toilet for? You know, you don't say these things because, and I suppose, like, then is it ignorance because they can't, like you've just rightly said there, I haven't got a wheelchair, I haven't got a stick, I haven't got a guide dog, or, it's not something where I've got my leg in plaster, my arm in a plaster where you can physically see. And that's the frustrating part because we have a hard enough life living with these conditions. Like, that's not me playing a victim for us here, Gail. You know what it's like when you are knackered and your kidneys have got you feeling like absolute awful, where you can't sleep. And even when you have slept for 12 hours, you could sleep for another 12 hours. We don't need to be questioned as well. Like, just think is all I'm asking people to it's just to think, well, hang on a minute, like, would they really use the toilet if they didn't need to go in that particular toilet? That's what I think. That time when I was in the theatre, God, I'm glad I was with my friend who I was with, because anyone else probably would have went, who are you talking to saying that? My other friend just burst out laughing. He said, Katie, the way you were just so straight with that person and told them, I can't pee properly. He said, you made me pee myself laughing. I went, oh, wait, that's a bit too soon.
So I know that you're very active on social media. So for anyone listening, what are your handles so they can give you a follow and support?
Right. I am on Instagram and I am on Twitter, or now X, isn't it? And I'm also on TikTok. Now, you'll probably laugh at this date, right? But my handle is MIZZ, so Ms, as in the old Ms magazine, _Scout. But I've just started the page that's dedicated to LPHS. And that's just on TikTok at the moment, so we'll be doing it on Instagram as well. But that's called Life with LPHS. And it's there where I've had a lot of people message me from the likes of America, Holland, all these places. And what I will say to anybody listening is that if any of your symptoms, you think, hang on, it could be that condition. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse. By all means, you can come and message me and I'll speak to you about it. And so if you want to maybe ask me anything, any tips on how to help with pain or anything, please follow me. Please give me a message.
Following on from that, what advice do you have? What tips do you have for people to manage pain?
Well, I won't give you the tip that a doctor gave me years ago, which was, whenever you are in pain, Miss Newell, you look at a beautiful painting and that pain will soon disappear. And I looked at him and I was very annoyed by that because I thought, no. And I said, you know what, doctor? I said, looking at the Mona Lisa helps. And he said, yes. I said, well, I wouldn't be sat here moaning to you, would I?
So your doctor seriously thought that looking at a painting would cure pain? Wow.
I swear down, Dee, like, honestly, that is no word of a lie. He was, it wasn't even a doctor I'd seen before. It was someone in pain clinic. And he come out with that. And I was just like, are you serious? Like, really? Like, so what I would say is that nobody can advocate for your body better than you. For me, what helps is heat. Sometimes on, like, placing heat on my sides. Sometimes it can be simple things like putting a TENS machine on. It won't take it away, but it can help a little bit. I believe keeping myself hydrated as well, drinking all the time, keep flushing them kidneys out as best as I can with getting rid of these crystals and blood and stuff. And also what I would say is that you be your advocate. You speak to your doctor. You tell your doctor, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I feel I need, because nobody knows your body better than you. And they can sit there and can say, oh yeah, this is going to help. Like, I went to A&E once. I had an episode. I went to A&E and I go, oh, you can't take anti-inflammatories, can you, Miss Newell? I said, no. Oh, well, that really works for kidney pain. Well, that's great, but I can't take them. So why are you saying that to me? Like, give me something that is going to help me. Like, so yeah, if you know what works for you, you know what helps you, be your own advocate and educate as many people as you can about your condition, how you feel, because nobody else can do it better than you.
What final word of encouragement do you have for the listeners?
None of you have a disability. You have an ability to show the world how unique, how wonderful and how beautiful you are, because you can manage anything you put your mind to. You just do it a different way to everybody else, and that is beautiful. And I know it's hard not to get down and not to feel sorry for yourself, and I still feel like that sometimes. But the best thing you can do is speak to someone. Speak, no matter who it is. Even if it's someone like me who you inbox when you're feeling down, who you don't know. Sometimes it can be your mum. Sometimes it can be a friend. Just speak, and do you know what? Remember how beautiful you are, because there's only one you, and only you can do the things that you do. There's no one else who can replace you, and there's no one else who can be as wonderful as you. And that's all I could say to people.
Thank you so much for joining me, for sharing your story, for sharing about LPHS, helping to raise awareness of this rare kidney condition. Thank you so much for your honesty and those nuggets. I really love those nuggets of wisdom that you shared. Thank you so much for joining me.
Dee, I just want to say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come on and speak about it, because as you've said, it's rare, and the fact that you've given me this opportunity to come on and to speak about it, it means the world. So thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Diary of a Kidney Warrior podcast. And don't forget that you can contact me on social media using the handle Diary of a Kidney Warrior. Please do subscribe to the podcast, and please do tell a friend. New episodes of this podcast are released every other Monday. Until next time, take care and choose to live.
Diary of a Kidney Warrior, sharing faith, knowledge, hope, and love.